it's like to record a whole video, a whole intro, and then realize you didn't hit the record button? So hello, I'm Tonya from Tonya's Witchy Kitchen, and my videoing and recording abilities are that of a 2-year-old. I'm going to tell you about my trip. I'm going to tell you the short cheat sheet version of my trip to the best of my ability, because you know how I like to talk. Okay, so you all know my son is in college rodeo. Let's go back to the 2022 fall season, just this last fall, okay? It was a kick to the confidence for him. He might not say that, but that's how I look at it. Okay, every bull he rode was 7.8, 7.9, 7.2. And it's frustrating. So he also rides for the PRCA. And he got into the circuit finals for our region last fall also, which was super cool. And so we did the thing. We went to the circuit finals for the weekend, you know. I went for a walk and my hair got all messed up. I should have did the video first. But anyway. Okay. My hair's always this way. No. So we did the weekend. His first bull, I don't know what happened. It looked like he fell off. His second bull was a 45-point bull, meaning that bull scored 45 points for somebody. And if you're super good and you last the 8 seconds, you could easily have a 90-point ride. 85, 95, whatever, okay, in there. So he was stoked, really excited for this bull. And he got on, and I mean, he only lasted 6 seconds, okay? During the ride, the crowd was wild. The guys behind the chutes are wild. The contractors, the other cowboys, they're all just screaming. Even the announcer was like, you almost saw a 90-point bull ride. That thing was excellent, right? So he was stoked. Like, that was what he needed. Even though it wasn't the full 8 seconds, that was what he needed. That night, I saw him before he went to bed, like 11, 12, and he's still stoked about that ride. Still. It's amazing what just one good ride will do. But anyway, his third bull of the weekend. He knew the bull. He's kind of like, you know those guys with cars and they can tell you, oh, a 1976 Ford truck doesn't have this transmission, it has this, okay, one of those types. Okay, he's like that with bulls. He remembers the bull, he remembers the rodeo he was at when he rode it, if he didn't, what it does. It's just super crazy, okay? But anyway, so he had this bull, he rode this bull before, he knew he could do it, okay? Just knew he could do it. And he was doing great. Until somehow he slid under the bull. It's really crazy. Under the bull. So the bull stomped on his vest, which was fine till it slipped, and then landed on him. He did get up. He did make it to the sidelines. And usually with a really bad wreck, they don't replay the footage, you know. But because he got up and walked away, which is what the announcer was focusing on, he's like, look at what this kid, he walked away from this. He got up and walked away. And they replayed it, slow motion, 3 different angles, like 3 times for sure. And I'm just up there going, oh my gosh, like, is he okay, you know? So he was checked out, and there was EMTs, and there was a doctor there, okay? Now we found out the EMT wasn't going to let him go, but because the doctor was there, and she was like, I think you're okay, you should be fine, he let it go, because he's not a doctor. And they're like, just take the interstate back, and just, you know, just in case. So we made it to the next big town, and basically drove straight into the ER. He had shattered his spleen. He was basically bleeding to death. And still hard to tell. They did surgery. They basically said there was nothing left of it, really. They lasered it, or however, you know, everything shut, you know, the veins and everything so that he would stop bleeding. And the doctor there was like, in 22 years, I've never seen one so bad. Okay, So he was in ICU for a couple days, and he was in the hospital 5 days total, and then came home. 2 weeks after the accident, is it 2 weeks after? 2 weeks after he came home, he was back at work because he was bored. Long story short, 3 weeks later, they cleared him for regular activities. No blockages, no problems. He was mending well. It's crazy. Okay. His coach, his rodeo coach, was like, it's going to be 6 months, 3 to 6 months is what he told him originally. And I know the chiropractor told him it's going to be 3-4 months before you are healed. And that's what the doctor told him. Don't do anything if it hurts, type thing. But it took him a few months to, he was so weak, guys. He lost so much muscle tone and weight. It was crazy. But he did start training again and, did machine work and finally crawled on a bull like 3 months later, 2 to 3 months later. Okay. So around the corner comes college rodeo for spring session. And I told him, I said, don't stress about the winning. And I really think this is part of his problem mentally. I said, don't stress about the winning. Just go, have fun, ride the damn bull, and enjoy yourself. Okay? Just don't worry about it. And he goes, Mom, I don't think I can even get into the finals. I'm so far behind. I said, well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. I'm not worried about that. Just go do your thing. Go do you and do your best. Okay. So the first rodeo of the season, he comes with a qualified ride. And he continued to have a couple qualified rides to where it pushed him into 3rd place for our college NIRA region. Kid you not. This was not in the books. This was not in the budget. This was nowhere to be found for the plan for this year. So my trip was to go back down to Casper, Wyoming, and enjoy all the fun things that entail college finals rodeo, the CFNR, which is a lot of waiting, you guys. It's a lot of sitting around and waiting, and it was cold, so we didn't do a lot of the tourist stuff we did in 2021. We were there, and it was so hot. It was like 105 degrees that week. So hot. So we did a lot of, driving and touristy stuff. This time it was so cold. It was raining. We did a lot of hotel and movies. I caught up on my movies. We watched Rocky IV and The Meg. Hello, I love The Meg. And that one's coming out. There's a new one coming out in August. Yeah. But anyway, okay, that is my story. It was very hard to tell. I'm still just kind of choked up over the whole thing. But I gotta support my kid. I mean, you gotta support your kids, right? You're their first stepping stone. And if you don't have confidence in them, they won't have confidence in themselves. Unless they're a very special child. Because there are some kids out there that they don't care what their parents say. But I'm talking when they're little. You gotta boost them up when they're little, right? Okay. Sorry, so long. I'm so sorry. Today, we are starting our Rose series. And I'm not going to give you the notes today because I told you my story and that was really long. And we're just going to do a short video on Hydrosol, Rose Hydrosol. You can do this with any herb. I do this with lilacs. I love it. Yeah, so that's what we're doing today. And 3 things. Dream big and let your kids dream big. Be true to you and be true to them. And 3, you are worth it. And so are they. So put the time in. Let's go check out this video. Okay, one tip I have for you is I used to use the bottom pot, which is an 8-quart Dutch oven. And I have a bigger pot. That other one is like 10, 12 quarts. And I use that one because the height, I've realized that the higher it is, the more hydrosol I get out of it. If it's a short pot, I don't get as much in the same amount of cooking time. Steaming time. It's actually steam. I also use this glass lid because I like to see what's going on in there. And I have found I don't like the strainer. I don't like the little thing. I like a rock on the bottom. And one really quick tip, sanitize everything. The pot, the lid, both sides of the lid, any jars you are using, the lids, sanitize everything. So here are my rose petals. I am using some dried. I am using some fresh. You can use either fresh. You can use either dried. I pick my roses in such small batches that, you know, it's half and half. There's no other way for me to do it. Yeah. So this is going to be roughly 2.5 ounces of rose petals. And you put them around the bottom of the rock. That's what we're going to do. Okay. Got my rock in there. And we're going to put them around the bottom of the rock. Okay. And then, I did this with my lilacs, and it worked so well having that taller pot. Okay. And if you've ever made a hydrosol, it's just, it's a steam distilled essence, water essence with the botanical that you're using. You can use anything. I love doing it with lilacs, lemon balm, anything, any plant matter. And then I'm adding 8 cups of water, which might be a little much, but I don't think so, because this ends up cooking for a good hour and a half. Okay. I just kind of dampen them a little bit. And then my whatever, kind of a taller container, but I wanted it a little wider, to catch the dripping water droplets. Okay, so this cover isn't technically for this pot, but it's really close. But another tip I have found to keep my steam in from, otherwise it just seems to evaporate out, if you want to say, like when you're boiling stuff and you reduce it down, I find that it reduces down more than it steams. So I have found that if I put aluminum foil kind of around the pot and the lid to kind of seal that off just a little bit, and I do reuse I do reuse my aluminum foil. But when you watch inside there, you're going to see the steam form, and it's on low. It's on the lowest setting it can be. Okay, low. And I have 3 ice cubes that are about this size. They're probably 1 to 2 cups total size. And you just let it, that's going to force more steam, right? Because it makes a condensation on the other side of the lid, which in turn drips down into my bowl. Okay, and I use a turkey baster. Some people put their ice in a bag, and I suppose if you have ice cubes, then you have less chance of getting it all over, running all over. I like the big one, and I have found the turkey baster to suck the water out. It works very, very well. Check it every 5 minutes, okay? I know that seems a lot. It's kind of like hot process soap. Don't leave it alone. I mean, you could if you didn't have the ice on top, I guess. But the ice causes more condensation, causes more steam to form. Not more steam to form, but more condensation and more liquid. So I continue to do that. See, so the lid, I'm showing you, the steam goes up, forms on the lid, and drips down. That's all it's showing you. And don't let the water get too far on the outside of the lid. Otherwise, you'll have that water dripping out. I actually reuse this water. I just water my plants with it. But basically, yeah, that's all I do. I check it every 5 minutes, and I suck out the water with the turkey baster when I have to off the lid, and then I add another ice cube to it. This is my 3rd one of this size. Now, my last ice cube is made out of just like that, a cottage cheese container. That's my biggest one. That's my last one. Okay? I keep them in my freezer specifically to do hydrosols. My kids can make shaved ice with them if they want to, but I haven't done that in a while. But it works great. Like, I don't have to worry about making ice cubes because we don't make ice cubes. Our water's just funny that way. But that was my last one, and it melted down. And so I'm going to continue to suck this out and and then I'm going to let it cool. And like I said, let it cool, and I'm going to remove it because you want everything to drip down. What can you do with hydrosols? You can use them as a facial toner, a body spritz, use it to set your makeup. Once you cleanse your makeup off, you can use it as a refresher, a pH balancer. Instead of water, use it for masks, and you can use it in your cosmetics with lotions and anything that uses water. So when I put it in the jar, I actually put a canning lid on it and put it right away in the fridge. And by the time it's cold and cooled, that lid is sealed. Like it will, pressurized can itself. That will be composted. Don't forget to label and date because they will all look the same. They last about 6 months to a year in the fridge, depending. So I have some in there that are a year old and they're still kind of sealed, so they're really beautiful yet. But there you have it. That is Rose Hydrosol. I hope you had a good time. Thank you for stopping by. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.